could take a better picture of myself.
Yeah.
To kind of get just like a better sense of the shape, because the picture was pretty dark that I got the reference from. And I think, I don't know, a lot of people thought this was just the whole, like the whole vagina hole.
Oh, I see.
And I was like terrified. I was like, oh no, that's, outer lips. It's supposed to be, outer lips, little hair type of pigmentation. But I think this area confused a lot of people.
Yeah.
And so I think I probably will make that a little bit darker.
So you're wanting to, I guess, like give it a bit more like detail, so people.
Yeah, dimension a little bit. Maybe not dimension, not the right word.
So it's like
contrast, a little bit more form around the legs.
Right.
And, the torso area is kind of, it kind of just like all blends in. Like you can really get the shape in the breast and the arm, but the midsection and thighs, I think, could use a little bit more darkness and kind of get that shape.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely tell like it could be articulated a bit more clearly, just so it's like not so obscure. But overall, I feel like the composition and these two next to one another are really excellent.
Thank you.
I don't really get to like, I guess, see work like that specifically here. So I feel like it's refreshing to see. And I think, so when you would exhibit them, would it technically be a diptych?
Yes, it's a diptych.
Yeah. That face is like...
Yeah, I wanted it to be kind of like emerging from the background, like kind of the illusion that the neck is kind of like fading and almost like into this piece, but not really. But I dealt with like a lot of like shame around like sexuality, and my dad's a pastor. My mom's pretty conservative, and so being promiscuous, all of those things, like a lot of my pleasure has been pleasing other people.
Right.
And so like now I'm trying to center myself around my work, and like that's kind of like one of the biggest things I had to get through, like in therapy, like just around just shame, like feeling like, you're like, oh, you're almost like this dirty person, and so I think exploring my sexuality in my like late 20s was a lot more freeing than what it was as a teenager,
right,
in like college.
Yeah.
It's a whole other different situation of like trying to find like being like validated like through men and all that stuff. So
I totally relate. Like my mom's not a pastor, but we grew up Christian, and just kind of like ignoring self for so long.
Yeah.
Because it's like somebody else is setting these rules for you. So then when you get older and no one's setting the rules for you, they've already been ingrained. So then you're like validating everybody else except for yourself.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because I just saw this interview. So, Angela Yee, you know how she does the lip service or whatever?
Wait, no, just kidding.
She did do Breakfast Club. Now she's doing her own like podcast, but she's been doing this on the side for a while. And it's with two other women. I think that they're like maybe former strippers or some sort of sex worker. They're very open about sex. That's the whole thing.
Yeah.
And so they had the dance hall singer Spice on there. And Spice was talking about like, they were talking about, I guess, like masturbation. And she was like, oh yeah, I used to love to masturbate, but then like I learned that like, I shouldn't be doing that. And I guess there are a lot of people that believe that when you're masturbating, you're having sex with a demon. And I had never heard that. Like,
is the demon yourself? Because that's like a bigger issue.
And like it was so interesting because Angela, you like pulled up her phone. I didn't see the full interview, but it just came up on my. I think it was like on my TikTok or like a reel or something that I saw. Yeah. And I'm like, I need to see like the full context of the interview. But like Angela Yee looked it up and she's like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. But she's like, anybody can say this on the internet. That's not like a fact. But the fact that some people just believe that, okay, if you're having sex, if people don't even want to experiment with toys or anything. Toys, I think I can understand. But to not give yourself the agency to like pleasure yourself, and it has to be for like other people or in a space where it's just with one person, or like if you have sex with multiple people, the whole soul ties conversation just irritates me. So I don't know, there's just a lot of things that I think we need to talk about in terms of sex.
I'm a firm believer that if you don't know what you like, how could you know what you like?
Yeah.
Like if you don't even know how to like pleasure yourself, like I've met people that have never touched themselves, women.
Yeah.
And so I'm always thinking like if you're unwilling to explore yourself, how does that encourage somebody else to be willing to explore you for you? When you want to give to someone else and you're experiencing them and like cultivating, something for them to enjoy, they're not even technically able to reciprocate that. Right. Because you don't know what you actually like.
And it's complicated I think it's more complicated for women to have orgasms, so I think that's why masturbation is so important.
Yeah.
Especially even with toys or however it is that you have to.
Even if your goal isn't to like reach this like high point, this idea of just like lately I've been dancing in the morning and like really getting in the habit of like releasing tension from my hips, or like spending extra time like oiling your body and really like touching every part of your body. Like now I've also gotten into the habit of like hugging myself before bed and like cradling myself, and like thinking about all the ways of which like you can actually give yourself that, like it cannot be a chore. It has to be something that you do, because in the event you wanted somebody else to do it for you, you want to be able to show them how to do it for you.
And how you want to be touched and how it's a lot. So, and I think moving forward, so I have one of the earlier thesis shows, so I was like, I don't want to go too late. I need like a deadline.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be going in March, like mid-March, like right before spring break. And so I want to kind of play with like the fine line between like orgasm, like spirituality basically, and like the Holy Spirit and all of those things. Like it's really all like the same. I think spirit and how sometimes it's seen as demonic, in the church
and that's
world.
Only
but it's just like I think it kind of looks even more demonic when people like fall out and like are getting demons out of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I'm not sure how I'm going to tie that. So I also like was doing stuff around family. So I covered it up, but it's just like
I can kind of see it.
Yeah, you can see it's like a little girl and her mom, and she was like giving her ice cream, right? And so this is what Corey thought I was doing. And so when this was not there and this was there, he was like, "What the hell?"
But this is like really. This is my personal opinion. My personal opinion is I would do it even more. Like I would step 10 toes down, because one of my biggest things, like I'll show you my studio as well, is this is like you. It's like a perspective of you and something that you're being vulnerable enough to share. But also too, I just think about women, specifically Black women, and I think about the projection of ourselves through photography and through painting. And I know a lot of people have like mixed feelings about figurative works, but I'd argue that I feel like we do still need more. They're there, and I do think that there's room for everything, but I really am a firm believer that, especially for Black women, there can be more depictions of self. Because I also seen your works previously with the other paintings you did of the church and Martin Luther King, and I was just thinking like these are like really interesting.
It's like little fragments I was trying to put together,
like a narrative, very story-like, and then to see this, and so kind of like it's like almost like a timeline of thoughts, timeline of observations and observations of self through the work. And I feel like things like this are, depictions like this are very important. But also, too, it's like I could stare here, but I'm very a firm believer of like context and the law of proximity, because then your face is right here. And your face really looks stunning. Like the jaw, the lips, that highlight on the forehead, the ears, the like natural hair. And I do like that the neck is fading, because then it just kind of like flows into it for sure. It would read very differently if the head was on top, because it would look like you're trying to
right,
But this is like I see the face, and then I see the body, and then I can kind of keep going back and forth. I would 10 toes down. Like I would, for sure.
One of the pink, one of the stink.
Like honestly, like even like here, like I can kind of see the anus.
Yeah,
but
I didn't want it to be like, oh.
But I feel like it's I only say to like increase the articulation only because, like you said, without the face, then it's just a body, right? And we have a sexualized body. But what happens when we have the face and we have the body that's articulated well? So why not include the anus? It's there.
Yeah.
You know, like why not include the lips? Why not include the hair? And kind of like push it further through like exaggerating what's happening. So I definitely feel like it's here.
It's about pushing myself. And I was excited like doing this versus like doing more family stuff, because this is like, yes, this is how I was raised. Like I have all these like photo albums and stuff. But this is something more like pressing in terms of like,
I would do it.
My identity.
If people are cringing,
that's
you're doing something good.
Yeah, if I'm making you uncomfortable, or like, you know, we have to have a conversation that makes you uncomfortable, we need to have these conversations. We're all grown.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing this with me.
Yeah, and thank you for coming and seeing it.